Hey gang, it's Jeff and welcome to our Tuesday live stream. I'm excited to let you know that we've got Ari back with us today. We got a lot of Medicare questions that have come through over the last couple of days. So thanks for those who sent those in advance. We have a lot of Social Security questions too. And of course, we get a lot of questions in the live stream. And we have Jill producing this excellent live stream as usual. Hello, Jill. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Just based on the state of New York, I have to read a disclaimer. Many of the questions that we cover here are nuanced. We do our best to answer them, but our responses are meant to be directional, not exact. Your situation may require more details than we can give on a live stream. So this live stream is for educational purposes only. We haven't had the chance to speak with you one-on-one, so please treat this information as general guidance, not advice to act on. For any specific questions you have about your situation, make sure you talk with a qualified professional. Speaking of qualified professionals, if you have questions about Medicare, give our trusted partner chapter a call, 440-703-1224, to see if they can help. And I'm going to put their banner up right here. Sorry, Jill, I'm blocking part of you, but that's the best I can do. Can't find a better place for that. All right, and we are good to go, and we're going to let Jill lead the way. So, Jill, why don't we start working through the questions?
Great. So we did have a lot of questions emailed in. So thank you so much for that. A lot on both the Medicare and Social Security side. But we do also love to take your questions live. So do put those into the chat box and we will take those live as well. In fact, we're going to take two questions from GEOFF'S. There is a Jeff Medicare question that was emailed in. And there is, oh no, this is Gem, not Jeff, Gem Prospector. So we'll start with the Medicare question from Jeff that was emailed in, which is, I become eligible for Medicare in February 2027. When should I apply to avoid any late enrollment penalties?
In November. So great job, Jeff, on being an early worm. You're too early to do anything right now, so you're just in the information gathering stage, and you're going to go a long way towards knowing all that you need to know to act timely come November. As long as you apply for Medicare in November, December, or January, your Medicare will begin February 1st, 2027. It's always dated to the first of the month. Now, if you're born on the 1st of February, like I am, then we get Medicare a month early.
Okay, good to know. All right, Gem Prospector 3089. I thought it was Jeff, but it's hi, Jeff. About spousal benefits. My wife retired early at 65 when her full retirement age was 66. She is 7.5 years older than I am. I just turned 65 and will wait until my full retirement age of 67. I realized that since she retired 1 year early at 65, when she was supposed to retire at 66, that she will have reduced benefits. She was born in 1953. I've worked since I was 17. I realize when I pass, she may only be entitled to 95% of my Social Security payment. I've always had way over the 40 needed Social Security earnings credits required for benefits. According to your short video on spousal benefits, she should have been entitled to some of my earned work history benefits, yet the Social Security office never even mentioned anything about spousal fed retiree, turning 62. Oh no, that's it. Is there a question?
So let me just correct a couple of points in there, because there are some things that are inaccurate, and I don't want you to get shortchanged. The first is that if your spouse is now 66 plus 7.5, that'd make her 73. If she's 73, then she's not going to get 95% of your benefit, your survivor benefit. She gets 100%. And so that's an important distinction to note, because if you're planning for what happens in the unlikely event that you go first, that's 5% more is real money. What was the other question on that one, Jill? Or what was the other point?
a lot of information.
Okay.
Well, according to your short video on spousal benefits, she should have been entitled to some of my earned work history benefits, yet the Social Security office never ever mentioned anything about spousal benefits.
So YouTube shorts are by definition are short. So I think although that sounds like the short was accurate, but there is a spousal benefit that she may or may not be entitled to. A lot of it depends on how much she earned when she was working and what her benefit is. There are situations where your partner earns so much money that the spousal benefit's actually less. And so in that instance, she wouldn't take it. She would take the higher of the two. So always just remember between your benefit, between a person's benefit and the spousal benefit, if they qualify for both, they're going to get the higher of the two.
All right, a Medicare question from Pam. Do you have any advice on dental insurance if I'm choosing a Medigap Plan B?
So I think Pam is choosing a Medigap Plan G. Plan G, as in Jeff, is the most comprehensive Medigap plan letter type that someone who's turning 65 can choose. It's a great choice. It's very comprehensive. It covers the 20% that your Medicare won't cover. It doesn't include dental, though. And the reason why is because original Medicare doesn't include dentistry. So Pam is asking, how do I get dental covered? And I would say, what type of dental services do you need? If you're just going for cleanings, then I would self-insure and I would pay for those cleanings out of pocket.
Yeah.
Standalone dental insurance is one of the most lucrative products that insurance companies sell. And boy, are they excited to sell it to you. It's not even something that we offer here at Chapter. We don't offer standalone dental insurance because it's not a good value to you typically. So if you're just looking to insure for cleanings, I would pay out of pocket for those. Now, if you're looking to pay for more comprehensive work like dentures, a bridge, an extraction, the list goes on, I would go to your dentist insurance coordinator and I would ask, who's the best insurance company that you work with? That's how we do it here at Chapter. We will actually go to the insurance coordinator and ask, because we want you to continue that trusted relationship, right? You've probably been going to that dentist for years. We want you to be able to keep seeing them. So we'll ask the insurance coordinator, who's the best insurer that you work with? Who reimburses the best based on the services that you may need, the major comprehensive work? With that said, though, the policies typically won't cover very much, even what might be considered a Cadillac standalone dental plan. So I would say if your employer offers a standalone dental plan, see if you can remain on it. If you're still working, see if you can continue that dental standalone plan, even if you're planning to move to Medicare.
Okay, and Ella wants to know, do you have to take Part B if covered by an employer?
The answer is no. Rule of 20, as long as your employer has 20 or more employees, then you do not need to start Medicare. Same thing is true if your spouse's employer has 20 or more employees. Rule of 20. Everyone else is required to start Medicare, including those who work for an employer with 19 or fewer employees.
Okay, Georgette is asking, and this I believe could be for either one of you, a general question. Hello from Florida. I'm turning 62 this year. My husband is turning 63. Just want to know what I don't know. So an early planner.
So that's a big question. And 62, 63, that's probably a Social Security question. So why don't I take that one? And then, all right, if you have anything you want to add, then you can jump in on that. Social Security is, as you know, you can start at age 62. You can wait all the way up until age 70 if you're the primary insured. The way to think about what you don't know is that there are 4 different thought bubbles when it comes to Social Security. What's beat into your head from the time you start seeing your first Social Security statement in your 30s and 40s for a lot of people, maybe even 20s if they signed up early, signed on to the SSA website early, is you want what's called the break even. Now, this is just math, and basically the break even is how do I get the maximum number of dollars from Social Security given my potential health when I claim Social Security. It's an educated guess because no one knows what the future brings, and basically, for some people, the break even's a great calculation. For others, it's a poor calculation. But you can get closer to the right answer just by examining your history and your family's history, and then you can make an educated guess as to what is best to get the maximum number of dollars. But believe it or not, this isn't the primary reason. It seems like, anyway, just based on feedback from our retire well community. This isn't the primary reason that people are worried with Social Security. The big one's moving to the survivor benefit. It didn't used to be that way, but people are becoming more and more aware of the survivor benefit and the impact on claiming late. So the later you claim, the higher the survivor benefit for your partner. The third is you just need the money, and it's a good reason. It's not one that I would recommend as the guiding light, but a lot of people use it, so they take Social Security early because they don't have a lot of other options. And then the fourth is you're managing to something in your life. If you have enough for later and you want to have a big first 10 years of retirement, maybe you want to claim early. Some people make that decision, or maybe you're worried about long-term care and you claim late. So those are the things, those are the boxes to think about when you're thinking about when to claim Social Security. But outside of that, I think I'll ask Ari if there's anything related to Medicare and what she doesn't know that she might want to know.
Medicare starts at 65, so you're well in advance, 2 and 3 years respectively, away from signing up for Medicare. And I would say start with it's not that complicated. The Holy Schmidt audience actually receives a complimentary digital copy updated for 2026 with all that you need to know about Medicare. And Jeff, how can they get the book?
That's a good one. So gang, for those of you, by the way, we have sent out hundreds and hundreds of these books, literally hundreds of these books from the last live stream. If you would like a free copy of It's Not That Complicated, it's Ari's book on Medicare, just go to livestream@holyschmidt.com. In fact, we'll put it in the chat box so that you can just go click it there or just look at it anyway. But livestream@holyschmidt.com, and all you need to do is put one word in there. Put Ari. We'll know what you're talking about, and we'll hit reply with the digital copy of Ari's 2026 book. And I thought your previous version was good, but this one's great. I read that from cover to cover the other day, and it is super clear. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, great. Okay, I have put that into the chat box for anyone who would like to get their book now. Laura is asking a Medicare question, speaking to It's Not That Complicated. Question is, how hard is it to switch from Medicare Advantage plan if I have a life-changing event, such as moving to another state 2,000 miles away, if I do not have medical conditions and I'm not on any maintenance drugs?
So for this audience member, they want to move from Medicare Advantage and consider a Medigap plan based on their move. And the answer is it's not going to be very difficult. You probably have a guaranteed issue right by virtue of your move. So that means an insurance company would have to accept you for the Medigap plan letter type that you qualify for. Now, you mentioned something else, though. You mentioned that you don't have medical conditions, you don't take prescriptions, and you have a die with zero mindset. A Medicare Advantage plan might still work for you. This would be something to speak about one-on-one with an advisor to weigh your options, because I imagine if you're moving somewhere distant, you don't have the doctors in mind that you want to see yet. And that's really where the rubber meets the road with a Medicare Advantage plan. You want to make sure that all of your doctors are in network, that it covers your prescriptions affordably, and that it meets your priorities.
So just if you want to talk to somebody, give them a call at 440-703-1224. It's the number in the lower right-hand corner. That's probably a really good one to ask an advisor.
All right, a Social Security question was emailed in from Mike, and it has several parts. So I applied for Social Security at age 70 at the end of 2023, but have continued working through the present. I recently checked my Social Security statement, and as of this February, I now see my 2025 wages posted. Those earnings are higher than their years. Will Social Security automatically recalculate my benefit if a higher earning year replaces a lower one? If so, how long does it typically take for that increase to show up in my monthly benefit?
So
And,
yes,
oh, do you want to
sorry,
add
go
this?
ahead.
And does this recalculation continue each year that I work, as long as a new year replaces one of my lower earning years?
Okay, so I can answer all of these with one quick discussion about the mechanics of your payment. The SSA takes your best 35 years, and until you're 60, age 59, they index them into today's dollars. From age 60 forward, the index is 1. So in other words, if it was 1983, your index might be 4.8. You earn $10,000 in 83. It's now $48,000 in 2026. Once you reach 60, the indexing for anything earned beyond that is 1. But if you have a great earning year and you had some low earning years in the past, those are going to roll off, and you're going to get a higher Social Security payment. And so if you're still working at 70 and you're earning a lot of money, that's congratulations, that's wonderful. But also the SSA will catch you up. They're not always on time, but they do the right thing all of the time. So if you haven't seen the adjustment yet, just look for it. It'll happen. I think they just need to get everything processed through the system. You can always talk to them if you want, but I think that you probably can equally wait and just it should take care of itself.
All right. Mike is asking a Medicare question. I'm turning 65 this year and trying to sort through my Medicare options. I'm confused about the Part D prescription drug plan requirement. I've heard that if I don't enroll in Part D when I'm first eligible, I could face a penalty later, even if I don't currently take any medications. Is that accurate? And then he goes on to say, if I choose a Medicare Advantage plan, would that typically include prescription drug coverage and satisfy the Part D requirement? And what alternatives are available if I don't want to enroll in a standalone drug plan right now?
You will face a Part D late enrollment penalty if you don't sign up for prescription drug coverage when you're first eligible. So it's great that you're preparing now, because even if you don't take any prescriptions, you'll still have that Part D late enrollment penalty when you eventually sign up for Part D coverage. And also, if you have a prescription in the interim, how are you going to cover that prescription if you go without Part D coverage? So there's 2 ways to get it. The first is if you choose a Medigap plan, you can purchase a standalone prescription drug plan, and that would satisfy the coverage requirement. The second way is the one that you mentioned in your question. You can choose a Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan, and that'll do the trick as well. They're mutually exclusive, though. It's one or the other. You can't have Medigap and Medicare Advantage. It's one or the other.
Okay, let's move to PCB 922 is asking, I'm going to start drawing Social Security at 70 this year in May. Social Security forms want info on an ex-spouse. I haven't had contact with her in 30 plus years. And frankly, I don't want to start now. I have no idea where she is.
I love questions like this.
Yeah. So this is actually a question. It's more related to
what do I do? That was the question.
Divorce spouse benefits. If you don't know the answer on the form, then give them a call. I don't think that they're expecting you to be able to track down your spouse from 30 years ago, your ex-spouse from 30 years ago. It's not a no-win situation. You're not going to get locked out of Social Security. This happens more than you think, and it just requires a conversation with someone at the SSA. And you might even be able to do it through the online portal, because they've modernized that now, and there's a lot you can do there that you couldn't do 6 months ago.
Okay. Jock Stoops has a question. I believe this is a Social Security question. He's a federal retiree turning 62 in June. This is a bit of a story behind it before the question comes up. Pending 3K income hole with end to Social Security supplement and another income stream. Since then, I've been exposed to the ideas of time value of money / net present value, and how plugging the $3,000 lifestyle gap with TSP withdrawals could be detrimental to the TSP's earning potential in the long run. My wife and I are adherents to the die with zero mindset. Okay, one second, just moved down. That said, we expect that our spending now in the go-go years, focusing on travel and providing our children with their inheritance now, will be much greater than in the slow-go years, before ramping up again for medical expenses, estimating 180 to 200K each for my wife and I in the no-go years. My wife feels secure enough with our existing strategies that she's okay with starting Social Security withdrawals at 62. With that as a background, what should my top 3 considerations be when trying to decide whether to claim Social Security at 62 or delay as long as possible by pulling from my TSP? Probably above the 7% level for the next 10 years and sacrificing that earning potential.
Okay, so there is a tremendous amount of data in that question. And so I'm going to point you back to the disclaimer that I read at the very beginning of this. That disclaimer was actually designed for multi-level questions, but also for ones that are somewhat unique. Think about Social Security in the frame of what we talked about before, which is you can either take it early and get more payments, but they're smaller. You can take it late and get less payments, but they're larger. That assumes the end date doesn't change. And I think you kind of need to make that assumption when you're making this decision, unless you can somehow improve your quality of life by taking it earlier. And so you have a choice. Are you trying to maximize every last dollar? Then you're going to think about the break even. If you are trying to enjoy life, then you might want to take it earlier. If you have extra cash flow, if you have enough to live on and you want to push it to later, that's a consideration too. One thing that it's a common comment is I want to take Social Security early to invest it. And my comment always is if you are doing that and you're retiring early to claim, in other words, so you're not being faced with the working and claiming Social Security at the same time outcome, oftentimes it's not the right choice, simply because you would have been able to build more into your savings and your investments. If you're now just saying, I'm retiring either way, and what's the best way to manage that, that's a different story. And then the final point really is the survivor benefit. And if you want to maximize your survivor benefit for your partner, then you would want to claim later. That's the way to think about it. I think if you want somebody to actually walk through your specific scenario with you, I'm a full-time educator. I don't do this, but we do have financial planners that we recommend from time to time. They don't pay us. We don't make any money from them. It's more of an accommodation. If you want somebody to help you with this, just shoot a note to livestream@holyschmidt.com, and we can get you with one of the few that we recommend.
All right, great. Joe Bonchi has a question on Medicare. Ari, my sister is on SSDI. She dropped Medicare B when her spouse got a job with great benefits. Sadly, he passed away in January, and she has to go back to Medicare B. How long is her enrollment period?
Her enrollment period is technically 8 months, but it's important not to wait because now that I'm so sorry to hear that her spouse passed away. We need to get her Medicare activated though, ASAP.
Yeah.
And there's a simple one-page form that her deceased partner's HR coordinator, their benefits department, is required to complete. It's just a one-pager. And that's the proof that she's entitled to a special enrollment period for the purpose of reactivating her Part B. It's a straightforward process. The benefits department will be familiar with the form. They're required to fill it out by law, and we just need to get that back to the Social Security Administration to get, I believe, your sister's Part B reactivated.
Okay, great. Georgette is asking, how does Medicare work if you're retired military getting TRICARE for life? Also, I just bought your Social Security class, Jeff. Yay for me.
Nice job. Well done.
And great news on the Medicare front. TRICARE for Life is for retired service members who served our country for 20 years or more. So thank you so much for your service. All you need to do is activate your Medicare Part B. TRICARE for Life will provide a $0 Medicare supplement, $0 premium Medicare supplement plan. You don't need to purchase any additional coverage. You'll also receive excellent prescription insurance through the government. The only thing that you need to do is activate Medicare Part B. Don't do anything else.
All right, we have a comment from Marion Hirsch. Said, just want to thank you all for these sessions. I retired last week after 47 years of working and feel extremely comfortable with my decision. Learning from you helped me navigate both Medicare and Social Security. So a nice, impactful comment from Marion. Thank you for that, Marion.
That's a great comment. Thank you.
All right. So, Jeff, a Social Security question. Does the age that from Jeffrey, does the age that I retire at affect my spouse's survivor benefit?
So it depends on what you mean by when you retire. If you claim when you retire and you claim earlier than age 70, it could. If what you mean by retire is I'm retiring early and I'm going to stop earning so that my benefit is going to stop growing, it's far less of an impact. The survivor benefit reaches its peak for your spouse if you wait until age 70 to claim. And that becomes the base for your spouse if you met an untimely demise. And at the same time, then the only thing that drives the size of the survivor benefit is the age of your spouse when the spouse claims. If they claim before full retirement age, their own full retirement age, then it's haircut. If they claim at full retirement age, then they get 100% of what you receive. There's a special provision called the widow's limit for someone who claims at 62. It's a bit of a Hail Mary. It grosses up or it increases the size of the Social Security survivor benefit, but it doesn't come into play for most people. So if you're talking about retiring early but not claiming, then the effects will be far less than if you retire early and claim when you retire early.
All right, great. So now let's take a Medicare question that was emailed in from Davey. I'm 68,
very good question.
Still working for a large employer and earning over $200,000 per year. I've continued contributing $600 per month to my HSA and most recently made a contribution on February 27th. I plan to retire on May 8th and start Medicare on June 1st. Will I face any penalties related to my recent HSA contributions once I enroll in Medicare? Do I need to stop contributing before a certain date to avoid fines?
Good news and bad news. The good news is that HSAs are an amazing way to save for your medical expenses in retirement. You're going to be able to use all the money that you've accumulated in your HSA to pay for any qualified medical expense. The only thing that you can't use it for is to pay the premium for your Medigap policy if you go the Medigap route. Here's the bad news though. Because you're past age 65, you're technically in violation of the rule against contributing to an HSA once you start any part of Medicare. You might say, but I haven't started Medicare yet. Here's the thing though. Because you're past 65 and a half, the government is going to backdate your Part A by 6 months. So you're planning to start your Medicare for June 1st, meaning you're going to apply for Medicare in May. So the government is going to backdate your Part A 6 months from May, meaning you're not allowed to make a contribution for this year. So here's what I would do if I were in your shoes. Unwind that HSA contribution that you made for January and February. Your benefit coordinator might still be able to help you out and to help you claw that back. It's going to be a lot easier than potentially owing a federal excise penalty of 6% on your excess contribution.
Okay, great. So now a Social Security question that was emailed from Richard. My wife and I both turned 65 this year. She in June and I in September. We do not plan to claim Social Security until December 2026, and our full retirement age is 67. My projected Social Security benefit at full retirement age is $2,450 per month. My wife's projected benefit is $971 per month. When we claim, will my wife qualify for a full 50% spousal benefit, or would it be reduced to something like 41.6% if she claims before full retirement age? In other words, would her benefit be increased to 50% of mine or to a reduced percentage depending on when she files?
So your wife's benefit is not attached to when you file for your own benefit at all. The only requirement for your wife to receive the spousal benefit is that you have to have filed first. But you could have filed at age 62, and that would have reduced your Social Security payment to 70% of what your full retirement age benefit would be. Your wife's payment is based on when she claims the spousal benefit, as long as you go first. So the spousal benefit for a spouse, and by the way, if you don't have or you haven't downloaded my Social Security Quick Guide, just go to holyschmidt.com/quick guide. It's totally free, and it's right there. As soon as you drop in your email address, you'll be added to our list, and you will get the quick guide right then and there. But all you do is you look on this guide, and at 66, at 65, your spouse gets 41.66%, assuming that your spouse filed at exactly 65. And at 66, it's 45.83%. And at age 67, it's 50%, assuming her full retirement age is age 67, which it sounds like it is. And so, but it's also broken down on a monthly basis, not an annual basis. So those are annual numbers. So somewhere in between is where your wife will land if she claims the spousal benefit. Now, if she's also entitled to her own benefit, then there's a concept called dual entitlement, and basically, if you're entitled to both, the SSA is just going to give you the larger of the two, and so you can't game the system and say I'm going to take one and then upgrade to the other. They're going to give you the larger of the two if you're entitled to both. So something to think about, because you did mention the fact that your wife had her own Social Security payment.
All right, Paul Rube has a pre-Medicare question. I am 62 and retired. I'm coming off COBRA in August of this year. What is the best method of gapping health insurance until Medicare? I'm looking to travel in the meantime, so flexibility is a must.
All right, you have a few options in order to bridge the gap until you reach Medicare eligibility. First, I'm assuming that you want to travel rather than going back to work. So I'm going to assume, for the purpose of this discussion, that you're not planning to go on work-provided insurance and you don't have the option of going on your spouse's, because for many of you, that might be the first option in order to bridge the gap. So I just wanted to name that. Here, I would consider purchasing an Affordable Care Act plan. That'll bridge the gap from when you go off COBRA to when you start Medicare. And you can easily shop for an Affordable Care Act plan through various websites, and you can see what subsidy you might be eligible for in order to reduce the cost of your insurance. The second option would be to purchase a private skinny plan. This would function as catastrophic health insurance, but it might work well for your use case. And then the third thing that you mentioned is you plan to travel. I assume that's internationally. If you plan to travel internationally, you can purchase various types of travel insurance that would go a long way towards covering something that might happen to you while you're abroad.
All right. And Terry Kane, I believe this is the same question. So I believe this applies to her, but I'm just going to check with you, Ari. I'm retiring at 62. My wife will be 55. And what is the best avenue to get health insurance during the gap years, assuming I do not get a job with insurance?
Yeah, the very similar question to the previous one. Same answer applies. And can I just give a shout out here? There was, I logged into my YouTube account in order to address the question about TRICARE Select, but Jeff and Jill, you have the most amazing audience because they already answered it.
They did.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Love that. All right. So here's a Social Security question from Michael Brooks. I reached 70 years old in early April. When do I need to contact Social Security about getting it? Now or should I wait?
I do it now. I do it right now. In fact, you can apply up to 4 months before you actually take Social Security. And we're in February. If you want to start, or you turn 70 in April, then you're definitely within that 4-month window. You're not too late. You're not going to give anything away. And as you know, once you reach 70, it doesn't grow anymore. So there's no benefit to waiting outside of if you're continuing to work. But I would say that for most people is nominal. So I would get online tomorrow and apply for Social Security.
All right. Bimmerden has a question I can actually answer. Did you say to email for Ari's book download? And the answer is yes. You can email livestream@holyschmidt.com. We did put it in the chat, so it should be in there for you. And then you will get a copy of the book emailed to you complimentary. Thank you to Ari from chat.
And just on the book gang, I had a few of you. I saw a report. A few of you came back and said that you had not received the book yet. So we got it out to everybody. We think we got it out to everybody who asked. But for those that didn't receive the book, we'll just reply to that anyway and get you a copy. So you should have it in the next day or so.
Okay, great. All right. So an emailed question in regards to Medicare from Pam. When I turned 65, I chose to stay on my employer's health insurance and did not enroll in Medicare. I also have not yet claimed my Social Security benefits. I'm now 65 and a half. When can I enroll in Medicare? Is there a specific enrollment period I need to follow now, or would I have to wait? And is there any potential penalty for enrolling at this point?
No penalty as long as your employer has 20 or more employees, rule of 20, and you can sign up for Medicare whenever you choose. If you plan to remain on your work provided coverage, then just do it a couple months before your sign off date. So that way you have continuous coverage. What we don't want to happen is your work provided coverage ends and then you're without insurance because you didn't apply for Medicare before you retired. Also, a common misconception is that people can COBRA, but COBRA is only secondary to Medicare. So if you're eligible for Medicare, Medicare is designed to be your primary insurance once you're done with your full-time job or once your spouse is done with theirs.
Okay, and Brian Dish has a question for you, Ari, about if you are already signed up for Social Security, will they send you your Medicare card at 65 without me having to do something?
That's right. If you're signed up for Social Security, then the government will automatically send you your red, white, and blue card 3 to 4 months before the month in which you turn 65.
Okay. Jeff, a Social Security question that was emailed in from Steve. A coworker told me that once someone starts receiving Social Security benefits, they are also required to begin taking withdrawals from their IRA at that time. I was under the impression that required minimum distributions do not begin until age 73, regardless of whether someone is collecting Social Security. Which understanding is correct? Does starting Social Security trigger mandatory IRA distributions? Or are those two rules completely separate?
They're completely separate. An IRA distribution is an individual choice. A lot of people, in fact, put out a video about 6 months ago that talked about a large percentage of people, something like 50% plus of people who were Chase customers. So it's a very specific group. Over 50% of them have never drawn from their IRA, and they were facing RMDs at 73 for a lot of them. So there's no correlation between Social Security and your IRA withdrawals.
Okay. A Medicare question for Ari. Irma. A bit ago, His Holiness warned of the downsizing penalties due to the difference between home purchase and ultimate sale. Is this it? I'm not sure this is. Aside from capital improvements, what of interest paid throughout? Is that I'm not sure.
So I think it's, Jeff, this might be an IRMA question. IRMA refers to the income-related monthly adjustment amount. It's a wealth tax on your Medicare Part B and your Medicare Part D. So if you're subject to IRMA, it means the government classifies you as a high earner. Who's a high earner? Someone who files solo and earns more than $109,000 modified adjusted gross based on your tax return from 2 years ago. So for this year, the government's looking at your 2024 tax return. If you file jointly, the government considers you a high earner if you earn more than $218,000 modified adjusted gross. So I think what this viewer is asking is, what about my house? I just sold my house. How does that count? And I believe that there's an exclusion, a capital gains exclusion from what is counted towards your modified adjusted gross income.
You bet.
Check out.
So it's $250,000 if you're single, $500,000 if you're married filing jointly, and that for most people that they get the exclusion. There are some rules that are pretty hard to violate. You have to have owned the house for 2 of the last 5 years. Well, if you're selling it, you probably were in it for more than 2 years. But those are the types of rules that you need to be aware of. But by and large, just know that for most people, the vast majority of people, it's $250 if you're single, $500 if you are married filing jointly, and that is the gain on the house, not the price of the house. So if your house was worth $250,000 when you bought it, and it's now $750,000, and you're married filing jointly, you're good.
All right. Someone else is interested in Ari's book. It's not that complicated. How do I get it? So that is just email into livestream@holyschmidt.com. And I believe you put in your email. Is that correct, Jeff? And that will be emailed out to you.
That's it. Livestream@holyschmidt.com, and we'll get it out to you. We send them out in batches because there are a lot of them, and so we'll get it out in a few days. Within a few days, you'll see it come through.
Okay, Social Security question from Amy. I'll start Social Security in July. How will the maximum earnings rule be applied to me this year? I'll make over the max for a married couple, definitely. Husband's retired, not collecting Social Security yet.
Mm-hmm. So if you are starting Social Security in July, that means that I'm assuming that you are not full retirement age yet, or not. This isn't your full retirement age year. If this isn't your full retirement age year, then the earnings test is $24,480. But the test only starts after you start receiving Social Security. So anything you earn through June doesn't count, or in this case, maybe it's July. It depends on your specifics. But because this is your first year, and again, I'm assuming that you're not this isn't your full retirement age year, then because it's your first year and only in your first year, there's a first year test. The 2480 is divided by 12 and it's 2,040 per month. If you earn more than 2040 per month, then you have to give $1 back for every $2 over to the SSA. And then starting next year, it's just calculated annually. But for the first year, it's calculated monthly after you start drawing Social Security.
All right, a Medicare question for Ari that was emailed in from Al. I'm currently evaluating my Medicare options and have heard something I'd like clarified. Is it true that if you initially choose a Medicare Advantage plan instead of original Medicare with a Medigap policy and Part D, it may be difficult to switch back later?
Can I
Or
answer that part real quick?
yes, yes, go
The
ahead.
answer is absolutely yes. In 46 states, you may have to answer questions about your health history if you're outside of the 6 months after you start Medicare Part B. Al, that is very savvy of you to flag that. People don't realize that when you first start Medicare, you have a one-time opportunity. I call it the golden window in order to purchase a Medigap plan without questions about your health history. The only 4 states that are the exception are New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine. So they're all along the Northern Atlantic seaboard.
Okay, and so then the second part is the issue really about medical underwriting and pre-existing conditions, meaning you might not be guaranteed acceptance into a Medigap plan if you try to switch in the future?
That's absolutely right. That's the rub. So you're taking a bet on your health. Now, perhaps if you move to a different state, you may have a guaranteed issue right to choose a Medigap plan later on. Those are few and far between. So if you're planning to remain in the same place, then you're taking a bet on your health. And if your health deteriorates, then a Medigap insurer in 46 states would be allowed to ask you 7 to 10 questions about your recent health history. These vary based on insurance carriers, and it's something that we've cataloged so that way we know which insurance companies you might stand the best chance of gaining approval from. You're taking a bet on your health, though.
Okay. Lee is asking a Social Security question. My husband began collecting his Social Security benefit at age 62 due to a layoff. He is now 79. I'm 68 and was hoping to claim a spousal benefit now and then switch to my own benefit at 70, which will be December 30th of 2027. We've been married for 49 years and we both have well over 40 quarters of work. When I contacted Social Security to apply for the spousal benefit, I was told that I'm not eligible to receive only the spousal benefit without reducing my own age 70 benefit. Can you explain why that is?
Sure. So remember when I said that the SSA will give you, if you qualify for 2 benefits, your own benefit and your spousal benefit, the SSA is just going to give you the larger of the 2. So if you qualify for both and your own benefit is available, then they're going to give you your benefit. So if you are 68, then you're going to get the higher of the 2, and that's going to be your Social Security payment. And that's probably what they're talking about. It sounds like they didn't explain it to you correctly, but it's called dual entitlement. And there are a lot of people that are entitled to 2 benefits. And if you're entitled to 2 benefits, the SSA just gives you the larger of the 2.
Okay, so we're going to take another Medicare question that was emailed in from Mark. My wife is currently covered under my employer health insurance. If I retire and enroll in Medicare, can she join my Medicare plan as well? She's 62 and does not work and isn't eligible for Medicare yet. I'm trying to understand what her options would be once I transition to Medicare.
Your wife wouldn't be eligible to start Medicare until she reaches age 65. Medicare is individual insurance. There's no family plan. The good news, though, is that you're still working, so your spouse can remain on your work-provided coverage. So I wouldn't start Medicare if I were in your shoes until you're absolutely ready to retire, because then your spouse is either going to have to COBRA, which is very expensive, explore options on the Affordable Care Act exchange, which might be less comprehensive than the work-provided insurance you have now, or purchase a private health plan that would function as catastrophic coverage until she reaches age 65.
All right. Teddy is asking a Social Security question. I don't reach full retirement age until this September. Is there any disadvantage to filing for benefits now other than a slightly reduced monthly benefit?
There are some benefits that come with full retirement age that are beyond just a larger payment. One of the things that full retirement age gives you, for example, is that you can work as much as you want and collect 100% of your Social Security payment. But if you decided that you wanted to work now, between now and the time you reach full retirement age, you're going to be limited to how much you can earn. And so that's the big one that you would want to watch out for. The other aspects of full retirement age, basically, if you look into Social Security, all of the metrics that are presented to people are based on either your full retirement age, or if it's the spousal benefit, the spouse's the primary earner's full retirement age. Those aren't really, that wouldn't really be a decision tree here, wouldn't be part of your decision tree here. But the one I think that you would want to think about is if you want to continue to work, you can continue to work once you reach full retirement age and take 100% of your Social Security payment.
All right. Robert has a Medicare question. He's asking, I'm retired and currently covered under my wife's employer health plan. I turned 65 in April and plan to file for Social Security. So I understand that Medicare Part A will likely be automatic. My wife is retiring on July 31st, and at that point, I'll lose coverage under her employer plan. When should I enroll in Medicare Part B? And how should I time enrolling either a Medicare Advantage plan or a Part D prescription drug plan to avoid any gaps in coverage or late enrollment penalties?
It's great that you're doing your homework now. We want your Medicare to begin August 1st for exactly the reason you mentioned. That way you have continuous coverage. Your spouse's work-provided coverage will end July 31st. Your Medicare will begin August 1st. The time to apply for Medicare Part B will be in June or July. There's a simple one-page form that your spouse's HR department needs to complete. And that's what you submit to the Social Security Administration as proof that you're entitled to start Medicare. Now, your Part A is going to be dated to when you turn 65 because you're planning to take Social Security. So Part A will start the first of the month in which you turn 65, and then your Part B will begin August 1st, so long as you apply in June or July to activate it.
All right. GG Comfort Food has a question for Jeff on Social Security. What is the
with a name like that? I gotta really focus in on this one. I love the name, so I want to make sure I give you the best answer possible.
What is the Social Security widow's penalty? How does one avoid that?
Well, it's called a widow's limit. It's not a penalty. It's actually a benefit. And effectively, if your partner files early, and let's say that they file at age 62, their Social Security payment is reduced to, assuming full retirement age of 67, it's reduced to 70%. If you're the widow and you assume the Social Security payment of the deceased, that means that you're getting 70% of the full retirement age benefit. And somebody somewhere in government said, you know what, that's not we don't like that too much. And so we're going to put a special provision in there that says if the spouse, the survivor files at, I believe it's 63 years and 9 months, they're going to get 82.5% of the benefit, not 70%. I believe it's 82.5%. And so it's a provision that raises it up a little bit. Does it bring it back up to 100%? No, but it does help a little bit. And the distinction here is that it's the survivor who has to file later. So the survivor files at 63 years and 9 months. And as a corollary to this, anything beyond that age won't change the outcome anyway. So there's no reason to wait past that age, because whether it's 63 years and 9 months or 67, the maximum you're going to get is that 82.5%.
All right. John has a Medicare question. For someone who isn't overly concerned about cost, but still wants to be efficient and who wants access to the best possible healthcare and flexibility, what is generally the best Medicare path? And is it more prudent to choose original Medicare with a Medigap plan for long-term flexibility, or is there a case for staying with Advantage in a situation like ours?
If you value comprehensiveness, choice of doctor, flexibility, I would certainly recommend Medigap and a standalone prescription drug plan. If you want the most comprehensive Medigap plan letter type, plan letter G would be the one for you. So you would want a Medigap plan letter G and a standalone prescription drug plan. That will allow you to go to almost any doctor and institution nationwide, no network restrictions, not subject to prior authorization. You don't have to deal with that rigmarole. Now, that said, if you'd like to consider your Medicare Advantage options, here we would go through your 3 Ps. Your providers, what doctors you want to see. It's network constrained. We're dealing with a private insurance company's network restrictions when we're in Medicare Advantage land. Second would be your prescriptions, what medications you take. We'd want to make sure that the Medicare Advantage plan you choose covers your prescriptions affordably. And finally, priorities. Based on the priorities you mentioned in your question, I don't think Medicare Advantage would be what I would choose in your shoes, but that's something that you can talk to an advisor about one-on-one, and it really goes to yours and your spouse's 3 Ps.
All right, we are right up against the top of the hour, so we're going to just try to stuff in just a few more. Social Security question for Jeff. Do you, in most cases, recommend waiting on claiming Social Security until full retirement age?
Well, every case is different. And so for people that are working, they're trying to build a larger Social Security payment. Sometimes it might be worth it to wait even beyond that. There was a study done at the University of Michigan, and basically the outcome was that 96% of the people who file for Social Security file at the wrong time. Now, it was a very limited focus on that point, and that the focus is that you're optimizing for the most money over your lifetime. But that's not always what people want. I mean, I've mentioned it a couple of times in this live stream about the 4 different ways to think about Social Security. But if you're thinking about when to claim, a lot of it depends on your health, your family's health, and your personal priorities. I wish I could give you a better answer, but that's something that you really need to talk to somebody one-on-one with, or you need to maybe take my course, Social Security Simplified, and go to holyschmidt.com/Social Security and use the coupon 60 off, and you'll get $60 off for the course. Oh,
great. That's great to know. All right. And last question from Ed, which is in a similar realm for you, Jeff, which is I stopped working at age 65, but delay pulling my Social Security benefit until 67. How does that affect my payout at age 67? In other words, if I don't need the money right away, does it make any sense to wait since I'm no longer contributing to the system? Does that really decrease my payout substantially?
Well, the difference between 65 and 67 is 8.1% in terms of the size of your Social Security payment. Excuse me, no. It is 13.34%. And so it does make a difference if you wait. Just because Social Security awards rewards people who wait. They give them a higher payment, but just less of them. So if you want to maximize the size of your payment, then you'll probably want to consider waiting.
All right, great. So we are at 8:02. Thank you so much for staying with us. And just before I pass it back over to you, Jeff, just a repeat of if you want, it's not that complicated. You can send an email into livestream@holyschmidt.com. And if you want that quick guide that Jeff was holding up, you can email holyschmidt.com/quick guide. All right. So any questions we did not get to, they will remain on the email list for next week. We will also take those that we didn't get to here in the live chat as well and put that on our list. So thank you so much for the questions. I'll turn it back over to you, Jeff.
Gang, thanks for joining us tonight, and we're thrilled that you could spend your evening with us. Ari, thank you for joining us. Jill, thank you for your excellent production of this live stream. Just a quick point, Jill's going to be on vacation next week, and while I know how to turn on the equipment myself, some of the other stuff I'm a little fuzzy on, so we're not going to have a live stream next week, but we'll be back here in 2 weeks talking more about Medicare and Social Security. With that, I think we're done. We will talk to you in a few weeks. Take care, everybody.